place, and identity. During a child's formative years, the primary caregiver has a valuable opportunity and duty to instill within the child a sense of pride in his or her surroundings. If given a strong foundation, the child's connection to place or belonging carries the potential to yield a strong, self-actualized adult. We must recognize that belonging is universal and should be honored as one increases his or her knowledge of other individuals, regions, and cultures. With this overarching global concern, our human ecological impact cannot be ignored. At every level, sustainability should be maximized to ensure the endurance of a healthy place to belong for the global population. One of the key concepts advanced by humanistic psychologist Abraham Maslow is called the hierarchy of needs. Maslow felt that human beings have certain basic needs that they must meet before they can realize and go on to fulfill their other needs. At the bottom of Maslow's pyramid are fundamental requirements to satisfy physiological needs, such as food, water, shelter. Maslow also identified a set of psychological needs on the second tier, centering on belongingness and self-esteem needs. A person who is well versed in the traditions and ecology of their region is likely to cultivate that stronger sense of belonging. At the top of the hierarchy, Maslow placed the need to realize one's unique potential as the fullest in a process he termed self-actualization. Maslow describes the self-actualized person in the following ways. This person has a firm sense of reality, accepting of themselves and others, as well as the world, to be what it is. They're autonomous, independent, sympathetic to other human beings, and they seek to promote the common welfare. They establish deep and meaningful relationships. They have a democratic world perspective, and they transcend their environment rather than merely coping with it. When children are provided a positive direction and encouraged to take pride in their surroundings, that mindfulness and sense of belonging provide a strong framework for the person's integrity. For this reason, the experience of weathering adversities has a stronger potential to provide personal growth rather than degradation. The President and the First Lady, Barack and Michelle Obama, are solid examples of people who may have come from lower income origins, yet seem to have achieved self-actualization. Ms. Obama recently gave a speech at the Democratic National Convention, which provided a glimpse at how the president's parental figures may have shaped his perspective. She said, "As I got to know Barack, I realized that even though he had grown up all the way across the country, he had been brought up just like me. Barack has been raised by a single mom who struggled to pay bills and by grandparents who stepped in when she needed help. Barack's grandmother started out as a secretary at a bank. Day after day, she kept on waking up at dawn to catch the bus, arriving at work before everyone else, giving her best without complaint or regret. And she would often tell Barack, 'So long as you kids do well, Bar, that is all that we really want. It's all that really matters.' Like so many American families, our families weren't asking for much. They didn't begrudge anyone else's success or care that others had much more than they did. In fact, they admired it, and that is how they raised us." If one is thoughtful as they raise their children, they will consider enriching their sense of belongingness as an important step in moving their child closer to realizing that higher level of self-actualization. Often learning the very names of the hills, rivers, streets, and foliage that surround a person during their formative years endows these elements with a familiarity of close family members. For adults, recalling these names and ways invokes not only nostalgia, but also a sense of belonging, which is indelible to the spirit, fortifying integrity. As one matures and experiences other lands, first or secondhand, it is important to keep in mind that sense of belonging, which is also intrinsic to others, regardless of their origin, as a means of enriching your respect for these other individuals and their environments. A variety of cultures are tied to regions, both urban and rural. The following are examples of authors from arguably different regions which own equally strong connections to their surroundings. In Janice Ray's Forest Beloved, the author makes a direct connection to the region of her childhood. In one passage, she catalogs the names of the grasses specific to a pine forest, compelling the reader to see them as she does, as more than just ground cover. Meadow Beauty, Laertis, Green Eyes, Summer Farewell, Bracken Fern, Golden Aster, Sandhill Blazing Star, Goat's Rue, Yellow-Eyed Grass, Purple Balduina, Beautiful Pawpaw, Pineland Hoary Pea, Wireleaf Dropseed, Hairgrass, etc. as she goes on. Many people consider the agrarian areas of North America and the southern area as the heartland. Yet the author Linda Hogan uses this word as the title of her poem about an urban dwelling, encouraging the reader to consider the city in a different light. Hogan emphasizes the value of that ineffable feeling of belonging by alluding to it, specifically within the sparse poetic format where few words are carefully chosen to express huge concepts. She places this ineffable nothingness in a familiar place between the palm hands of prayer. Indeed, both authors find the divine at the heart of their respective settings. Hogan writes, "Through the old leather of our feet, city earth with fossils and roots breathes the heart of soil upward, the voice of gods beneath concrete." Ray writes, "Here I walk shoulder to shoulder with history, my history. I can see my place as human in a natural order more grand, whole, and functional than I have ever witnessed, and I am humbled, not frightened by it, comforted. It is as if a round table springs up in the Cathedral of Pines, and God graciously pulls out a chair for me, and I no longer have to worry about what happens to souls." Finally, cultivating a respect for your environment and its inhabitants on a global level, one cannot ignore the effect that one has on the other. It follows that to preserve one's environment is to preserve one's self. Therefore, it is imperative that efforts are made to reduce harmful impacts on the ecosystem. Robert Engelhardt, a social scientist who follows value surveys across the Western world, was one of the first to discern the beginnings of a decline in materialistic values. In Europe and North America, he has seen signs of a new generation maturing with a decreasing concern for economic growth and strong defense. Instead, we are trending towards an increasing concern for personal relationships and the integrity of nature, the meaning of life itself. Fostering an innate satisfaction with one's surrounding leads to a culture where people appreciate the simplicity of nature and sparse living, rather than that empty, insatiable desire to consume more. Decades of inflating materialism and economic downfalls has shown us that this insatiable need to consume cannot buy happiness or security. On the verge of an environmental crisis, it is truly the responsibility of this generation to create for our children increasingly strong ties between nature and identity. This begins at the basic level by teaching our children the value of home and their immediate surroundings. Take them outside. Teach them the names of the plants and animals indigenous to your region. If you are not familiar, create a learning experience. Read about your impact on the environment and show your children the difference between a littered and a clean landscape. Then show them how participating in the simple act of recycling can save the lives of those local plants and animals of which you just learned about, as well as those abroad. Teach them the value in amassing experiences and cultivating relationships. Rather than amassing more stuff, show them by example that acts which are meant for sustaining their environment and the environment of the world are truly means of forming a strong self-identity.